and welcome to the Aunty Lisa Show! Hooray! What should we do? A story about today. Right. Bag number 1. Lloyd the Bin Man. Ha ha ha! He's a newcomer. And, what's this? Jack. Okie dokie. Bag number 2. Oh, sister. Shouldn't look, should I? London Kristoffer and Aunty Lisa. How do I pick that out every time? Dashi. And one more. Andy. Oh, that's quite a mix. Right. And in the bag of random things, now freshly stocked with yet more random things. Okie dokie, a magic wand. And in the bag of places, which is getting smaller. We have the jungle. Okay. One day, Aunty Lisa, Aleksander and Kristoffer decided to go on a little trip to the Natural History Museum. You thought I was going to say jungle, didn't you? Well, no. Anyway, so they were planning to go to the Natural History Museum. So they packed a bag with such amazing things as a sandwich for a snack and some chocolate bars and a drink. And also some money, because when you go into London, it always costs lots and lots of money. And that's where the Natural History Museum is, with all the dinosaurs in. And loads of other animals, actually, as well. So, off they went on a train, and then they went on the underground. And it was all going super duper well. When, suddenly, something interesting happened. And what that was this. As they emerged, having been on the underground train, they went up the escalator. And they got to the very top of the escalator and came out into the street, which was beautiful, bright sunshine. A lovely day in London. And they looked around and went, what a lovely day in London. And then something caught their eye. And Aleksander and Kristoffer went, Aunty Lisa, what's that? And Aunty Lisa went, what? Where? And they said, over there, Aunty Lisa. Aunty Lisa said, what? Stuck to the back of that bin lorry? And Aleksander and Kristoffer said, yes, stuck to the back of the bin lorry. And Aunty Lisa said, probably some rubbish, I expect. Pfft, silly nephews. And they said, no, Aunty Lisa, it's super shiny. Let's go check it out. And Aunty Lisa went, oh, fine. I bet you anything it's just a bit of tin foil sticking out the back of that bin lorry. Got stuck to it as they've emptied it or something like that. Anyway, so they went over to the bin lorry and they spotted someone that they thought they recognised. And they thought, gosh, that guy looks an awful lot like our friends Chad and Drill. How strange. And they went over and said, hey, do we know you? And the guy said, no, but I think I know you. And Aunty Lisa and Aleksander and Kristoffer went, really? And he said, yes, I think you're friends with my cousins Chad and Drill. You know, who work at the police and on the Coast Guard. And Aunty Lisa and Aleksander and Kristoffer said, yes, we know Chad and Drill. He said, yes, I've seen pictures of you on their Facebook. And Aunty Lisa said, oh, wow, well, that's nice. Who are you? And he said, I'm Lloyd. I'm their cousin. And I'm a bin man. That means that I collect up all the rubbish that other people leave behind and I empty the bins. It's a very important job. We also do recycling. Aunty said, great, because I love recycling. And he said, well, you know what, guys? I'm just about to get off my shift. Would you like me to show you around London as you're friends with Chad and Drill? And Aunty and Aleksander and Kristoffer looked at each other and went, yeah, I mean, we were headed, actually, to the Natural History Museum. Would you like to come with us? And he said, would I? I love the Natural History Museum. Pfft, people think bin men don't have brains, but I just love to work on the bins because it helps people. And I really love learning about nature in my time off. And Aunty said, that is ace. By the way, the reason we came over, actually, is because we saw something is stuck to your bin lorry. And the bin man, Lloyd, said, well, probably rubbish, isn't it? And Aunty said, yes, probably rubbish, I think. But these two are insistent that it's sparkling. And so Lloyd said, well, let's take a little look. So they went round the back of the bin lorry all together. And it was super stinky. There was some old bits of banana skin hanging out the back, and there was some half a pair of a trainer sticking out, and some other bits and pieces like old crisp packets and half-eaten sandwiches, but stuck to the edge of the bin lorry, just almost where you couldn't see it in one of the little gaps where the pieces go together. There was something sparkling, and Lloyd said, I didn't notice that earlier. That is curious. I wonder what it is. Well, I suppose we could give it a poke and see if we can get it out of that little gap that it's stuck in. So, he found a pen from inside the cab of his bin lorry and he gave it a little poke. And out popped a very sparkly stick. And Aleksander and Kristoffer went, ooh, it's so sparkly, look at that. And Aunty said, you were right, guys. That is super sparkly. I mean, it's almost like it sparkles on its own. That's kind of weird, actually. And Lloyd said, well, I think it's quite an interesting find. Let's take it with us to the Natural History Museum and see what the scientists there say. Because, well, I don't even know what it's made of. It's so sparkly. They have loads of rocks at the Natural History Museum. Maybe they'll be able to tell us what kind of stone or whatever it is it's made of. I don't think it looks like it's man-made. It's kind of knobbly and long, but very sparkly. Looks like it almost could be like an ammonite or something that comes down in the depths of a cave somewhere. Let's go and find out. So, he parked the bin lorry somewhere sensible, because you have to be careful where you park things in London. And they went to the Natural History Museum. And they went, first of all, of course, to see their friend Andy. And Andy was super excited to see them and really excited to meet Lloyd, who had never met before. And Andy was like, way, hey you guys, oh wow, what's that amazing rock you've got? God, let's have a closer look. So they showed the amazing stick that was made of like rock to Andy as it sparkled, and he said, I have never seen anything like this in my whole entire life. And everyone went, ooh, do you know what kind of material it's made of? Is it a rock? Is it something that was an animal one time? Maybe a fossil of some kind? And Andy said, I really don't know. And he absent-mindedly just waved it around a little bit. And as he waved it around a little bit, little stars started springing off of it. And they all went, curiouser and curiouser. Let's go ask some scientists. So they went to, if you don't know this, you might be interested to know that there are lots of scientists that work at the Natural History Museum behind the scenes. And they do studies and things, I think. Or they catalogue stuff. Anyway, So they went to ask the rock expert, who'd called a geologist. And they said, hey, have you ever seen a rock like this? And the geologist guy was like, no, what is that? And they went, look, it does this. And all sparkles and stars and things came down. And he went, there is no rock that does that. That, my friends, is magic. And they all went, whoa, are you serious? It's magic? And the geologist said, 100% serious. You need to be super careful what you say around that thing, because you just don't know how powerful it is. So everybody was quite awestruck at this point, and they were like, well, do you have any idea where it might have come from? And the geologist had a little think. And he went on the internet and did a bit of Googling. He went, I found one case similar deep in the darkest depths of the jungle of the Amazon. There was another one found just like it inside a cave. But I always thought it was just a legend. Just pretend, you know, a story for kids. I never thought I'd actually see one. Wow. Well, everybody needed to know more about this, and they needed to know more about it immediately. So what they did was they said, well, we've got to go and investigate and see what this thing does and, you know, what's going on. So they decided together that then maybe they could go to the jungle and see if they can find where this magical thing came from. But before they did that, something interesting happened. Aleksander and Kristoffer were holding this stick of sparkliness when they started to feel a little bit peckish. And Aleksander and Kristoffer both said, I'm hungry. I wish I could have an ice cream right now. And then ice creams appeared in their hands, and they went, woohoo! They gobbled it up before Aunty Lisa could even notice. And Aunty Lisa turned around and spotted her nephews all covered in ice cream. She went, hey, when did you get an ice cream? And why haven't I got an ice cream? And they went, oh, no, ice cream? No. And Aunty Lisa was like, right, I think I'm going to look after this sparkly stick we've found for a minute. Oh, I do wish I could just have a nice cup of tea and a sit down for a minute. Well, sparkles came off of it everywhere. And before she knew it, there was a comfy sofa behind her and a cup of tea in her hand. And she sat down like this. What? Ooh. Tea. And Aleksander and Kristoffer were like, oh, look what happened. You got a cup of tea. You said, I wish, and then it appeared. This is definitely a magic wand. Cool. What shall we wish for next? And Aleksander said, I wish my friend Jack was here so he could see what's going on. And pop, Jack appeared. And Aleksander went, what? And Jack went, what just happened? I was at school. And now, where even am I? And they went, you're at the Natural History Museum, Jack. I just wished you were here. And then you were here. And Jack was quite taken aback, but also quite relieved, because he was super bored in his lesson at school because they were learning about a thing called trigonometry. And it was a boring subject to some people. I actually quite enjoyed trigonometry, but anyway. So Jack said, well, I think I might be going to get in quite a lot of trouble for this, but, I mean, this is really cool. How did you get me here? And they said, well, all we did was said, I wish that, and Aunty Lisa went, stop it. Got to be super careful now. And then Kristoffer said, Aleksander's got a friend. I want one too. I wish Dashi was here. Ba-ding! Sparkles showered down all over the place. And Dashi appeared with her camera. And she went, What? I was taking pictures of jellyfish. Where am I now? Dashi was all soggy because she'd been out swimming in the sea taking photographs for her natural photography thing that she does. I'm all soggy, she said. This is what the... And then she went, oh, hey, Kristoffer and Aleksander. So what happened? And they said, well, we've got this special stick that we found on the back of a bin. And it turns out, if you say you wish for something, then it happens. How cool is that? And Dashi went, whoa, that is super cool. Although I feel like we should be a little tiny weeny bit careful with it. Because you know how these things can backfire sometimes. And Aleksander and Kristoffer said, don't be silly, it'll be fine. So, by now, they had Aunty Lisa, Kristoffer, Aleksander, Dashi, Andy, Jack and Lloyd all at the Natural History Museum together, all wondering where this magic wand had come from. And in fact, something that was playing on the back of Aunty Lisa's mind was, who does it belong to? And are they missing it? Dun, dun, dun. So, they decided to do some investigating and a teeny tiny weeny bit of adventuring. And they said, well, we should go find out a little bit more about it. I mean, that's the responsible thing to do. And Andy said, hey, we can travel in my clock. It doesn't have to just go back in time. It can also travel in space, as in move around the place. And Aunty said, don't see how that could go wrong. And so they all went up to Andy's clock. Now, Jack and Dashi had not been in Andy's clock before, and Lloyd certainly hadn't. And they needed a little tiny bit of persuading that it was a sensible thing to do to jump into a clock. And after a while, they agreed. And Andy said, right, clock, we're not going back in time today. No. We're going to go to where this rock comes from. And he kind of waved it at the clock and hoped that the clock would be able to sense it in some way. And then the clock did its magical thing. Dong, dong, dong. And they all leapt into the clock. And then the clock whisked them away to the jungle, which was the Amazon rainforest. And in fact, it whisked them to the mouth of a giant cave that was full to the brim with bats. Super cool, amazing bats. The only downside with a cave full of super cool, amazing bats is that it's also full of loads and loads of stinky poo. And everyone went, whoa, gee, whoa. This is a super stinky cave. I didn't know this was going to be a messy job, said Jack. I would have worn my old trainers. Dashi was beside herself with joy because she always photographs under the sea creatures, and this was the first time she'd seen a bat. And she was like, wow, look at those amazing things hanging from the ceiling. It was the best day ever for Dashi. I said, right, this must be where the rock has come from. Well, you know, the magic wand, as we are now calling it. And I said, time to do a little bit of investigating. So, now luckily, Aleksander, Kristoffer and Aunty Lisa had packed bags, which was well prepared because in their bags they always carry a torch. Because you never know when you might need a torch. And luckily for Lloyd, he had his phone, which also had a torch setting, as did Jack. And Dashi had her camera and could follow other people's torches. And Andy always has a head torch like this. Because that's what adventurers have. And so off they went into the cave, and they had to dodge a lot of bat poo. I can't tell you how bad it smelt in that cave, because it was really, 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 really bad. Just think of the worst, stinkiest day you've ever had, and it was probably at least as bad as that. And they went deeper and deeper and deeper into the cave. So deep into the cave that there were no more bats hanging there, because the bats liked to be near the front of the cave so they could fly out at night. And deeper and deeper and deeper into the cave. And then through a tiny squeezy gap. And then it opened up into a massive cave inside. And in that massive cave, from the ceiling was dangling loads and loads and loads of identical sticks made of sparkly rock, and everybody just stood there like, whoa, that is so cool. It sparkled and glistened like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, like all the jewels of all the beautiful necklaces and diamonds and rings and things of the whole world had been put in one room and dangled from the ceiling. Nobody could speak for a couple of minutes because they were so amazed by how beautiful it was. And then they heard a noise. And the noise went like this. And everyone went, we're not alone in here in this beautiful place. And out of the darky depths of this cave came a strange looking creature. And it went, and they looked at it, and it looked at them, and they went, hello? And the creature went, hello? And they went, ooh, you sounded a lot more scary a minute ago. Hello? 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 And everyone went, hello? And the creature went, hello? And they went, hello? The creature went, hello? And they went, hello? And the creature went, hello? And Aunty said, who are you? And the creature went, me? This is my cave. And I am the queen of the fairies. Who are you? And Aunty Lisa went, I'm Aunty Lisa. And I am the auntie of these adventurers here, Aleksander and Kristoffer. And we are friends with Lloyd and Jack and Dashi and Andy. And we came to find where this came from. And we think we found it. And the queen of the fairies went, oh, where did you find that? And Aunty Lisa said, well, funny story, actually. Have you ever been to London? And the queen of the fairies went, what is a London? And Aunty Lisa went, I'm going to take that as a no. Well, London, in fact, is a big city with loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of people. And it's really busy and it's dirty and it's smelly, but it's also kind of cool. And there's loads of cars. And we went on a trip to go to the Natural History Museum. And then we saw this bin lorry. And then on the back of it was this. And it turns out it's quite magical. So we thought we'd find out where it come from. And the queen of the fairies said, oh, I didn't understand any of that. I live in this cave. And I've lived here my whole life. And we live among the sparkly things. And Aunty Lisa went, I can see. I mean, that's super cool. Yes, I like where you live. It's very beautiful. And the queen of the fairies said, but we are very confused about how our magical sticks from here have been getting all over the world. Because sometimes they disappear from our ceiling and it makes us really sad. And Aunty said, well, we've brought you this one back, I guess. And the Queen of Fairies said, yes, but how did it get to your London? And Aunty said, I don't know. Have you got any enemies? Maybe? Someone who might sneak in and steal stuff from you? And the Queen of the Fairies thought for a minute. And she said, not especially. Sometimes we go to sleep and then the next day another one of our beautiful things has gone. And Aunty said, that's really sad. I'll tell you what, we will try and find out for you what's happened so you don't lose any more. And the fairy said, that would be great, thank you. So, turned out a crime had been committed in the cave. Someone had snuck in and stolen one of the sticks of rock from the ceiling that happens to be magical and turned it into a magic wand. Now, how did it end up then in London? Well, they had a little think. And they thought to themselves, who do we know who is super mean? Who would steal magic wands from people? And Jack said to himself, bet it was Lady E. Or one of her friends. And Aunty said, I bet you're right. Because she is super, super, super mean. I wouldn't put it past her. And being a ghost, she could just sneak in whenever she likes, couldn't she? Steal one off the top there. That's so mean. So, what they did was they decided to wait and see if they could catch whoever it was that was stealing these things from the roof and turning them into magic wands and ruining the fairy queen's beautiful kingdom under the ground. And so they sat and they waited all night. Now, the best thing about sitting in a cave or near a cave at night is that all the bats went and they flew out of the cave. And everyone went, wow, look at all those bats. That's amazing. All the bats flew around catching loads of moths and things. Anyway, eventually they all started to nod off. Like this. Tried to stay awake. Nodded off. Tried to stay awake. Jack was sat there like this. Must stay awake. And then, shortly before dawn, they noticed something appearing down the corridor. And they were like, what is that? And then they looked again and they went, oh, it is Lady E. What? How is she even doing this? And they went, right, everybody, we've got to stop her, okay? Because she's coming to steal even more of these magic wands. And if she gets too much magical power, she could probably take over the world. Imagine that, it'd be blinking awful. Well, Lady E was not alone. Lady E had a few ghosts with her. And she was going, let's steal as many as we can. And then we can take over the whole of Newbury with all the magical power we can have. I can't believe I hadn't thought of this before. Woo, woo. But then, just as she was about to go into the cave, everybody went, stop right there, Lady E. You can't steal any more of the Fairy Queen's magic wands from the ceiling of her cave because it's super mean and it's not okay. And she went, what are you gonna do to stop me? And everyone went, pew, 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 pew. But she was like, pew, 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 pew. And then they thought, uh-oh, this has all gone horribly wrong. Lady E's gonna make it in all on her own. But a cunning plan developing in Aleksander and Kristoffer's head was this. They grabbed the magic wand And together they went, "We wish we could banish Lady E back to the hidden side." And Lady E went, "Ah!" And she was gone. Wow, that was quite a result. They went in to tell the Fairy Queen all about it and explain the whole story. And the Fairy Queen said, "Wow, thank you so much, you guys. We couldn't afford to keep losing our beautiful sticks from the ceiling that dangle so lovelily in our beautiful home. How can we ever repay you?" And Aleksander and Kristoffer had a little think, and they said, "Well, do you think maybe we could keep this beautiful stick from the ceiling that Lady E must have dropped in London and it got swept up? Please?" And the Fairy Queen said, "Well, okay. But you must promise not to just use it for getting ice cream." And Aleksander and Kristoffer looked at each other and went, "How did you know about the ice cream?" And the Fairy Queen said, "I can just sense it on you. I just know because we're so linked to these magical items." And she said, "You have to be really careful and only use it for good, okay? Because if you use it too much, the magic will start to get used up and it will affect my beautiful magical kingdom. So just only use it when you absolutely need to." And Aleksander and Kristoffer said, "Okay." And then the Fairy Queen turned to Aunty Lisa and said, "Not even for a cup of tea and a sit down. Only if you absolutely need it." And Aunty Lisa said, "Okay, we will keep it in a really safe place." And the Fairy Queen said, "Of course. Well, I hope you'll come and visit again very soon. But I can see you're tired. So I will say bye-bye for now. But thank you so much for saving my beautiful under-the-ground kingdom." And Aunty Lee said, "That's no problem." And Aleksander and Kristoffer said, "That's absolutely fine. We enjoyed it." And Dashi and Andy and Jack and Lloyd all agreed too. So then they all went back to the clock. And it was just in time because the clock was about to go dong, dong, dong. And they leapt through the clock. Pew! And were magicked back to the Natural History Museum, where, because all good museums have these things, they had a nice cup of tea that they paid for, and a sit down, and some ice cream, and some cake, and all had a lovely chat about their amazing adventure and looked at all the amazing photos that Dashi had taken. And that is the end of the story. Whew. Love you. Bye-bye.